fun night. I'm going to be talking about self-esteem. Has anybody ever had to deal with self-esteem issues before? I used to deal with that a lot. I think that's just a normal thing in teenage years. You're going to be dealing with your self-esteem because you're finding out who you really are there. We're going to talk about your relationship with God and also your dreams and visions. Those are the things that we're going to be talking about that you should be considering as far as, okay, what's going into my foundation right now? Your foundation is going to be the basis of what your character is, who people are going to remember you as. That's how people are going to remember you. Because you're going to be building off of this foundation for the rest of your life. And I mean, Scott works in construction here. Is it easier to set a proper foundation at the beginning, or is it easier to go back and change the foundation after the buildings are built?
Always at the beginning.
Always at the beginning. It's always easier because what you can do right now is you guys have a great, great opportunity that a lot of people don't have. What do you mean by a lot of people? I mean older people. Don't look around to the back. There's older people there. I see old people. Just kidding, guys. Oh, one left. I'm scared. But right now, you are at the opportune point of your life where you can set the foundation to be a really good foundation, guys. You know what? There's a lot of people that I've talked to that are in the later years of their life, and they look back at the point of life that you guys are living in right now. They look at you guys with envy. They truly do. They look at you guys with envy. I've heard this so many times of, I wish I could go back and do things differently. That is at the point where you guys are right now, where they wish they could go back where you are. Why? Because the foundation is still being built. It's like what I said, the foundation of your life is still being built. It is easier for you to set a proper foundation now than years later, like those other people, living in regret, saying, I wish I could go back and do things differently. What are some of the things that you can think of right now that it's like, you know what, these are things in my life that years down the road, are these going to be things that I'm going to regret? Some of the decisions that you are making in your life right now, are these going to be things that you're going to regret? It could be habits in your life, things that you're allowing to take root, things that you're doing to other people, relationships that you're building that you know are going to be harmful. Views of yourself. I know, like I said before, dealing with self-esteem, I'm not going to go into this because I'm going to deal with self-esteem specifically here in a few weeks, but you know what? One of the biggest things that I came to realize with myself, with self-esteem, was that my self-image and how I viewed myself was my own choice. It was my own choice. A lot of people will try to push this thing on you where it's like, it's how other people view you, it's how they treat you. But it's how you view yourself and how you choose to view yourself. But coming back to your foundation here, we're going to be reading a verse here in Matthew 7:24 through 27. This is a great proverb that Jesus has, and it says right here, everyone there then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on a rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. But it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell. And great was the fall of it. Right there, two different examples of what kind of foundation you can set. In life, you're going to find that there's a lot of things that are temporary. Has anybody been experiencing that yet? Just things that kind of come into your life and then are gone very quickly? A lot of people, what they do is they start putting value on these things. And they start building their foundations on these things. The rest of their life, they start building their homes around this, the structure of their life. That would be the same thing as the sand. Things that are very temporary. Have you guys ever gone to the beach? You kind of see how the water comes in and drags the sand away, just kind of pushes it around like it's nothing. It's not very sturdy. But then there are things in life that we can actually absolutely 100% rely upon because they do not change. There's only been a couple things that I've ever seen in my life that do not change. Those are the things that we need to build our life upon. I've seen people that have built their life and their happiness around friendships and relationships. And I think back to the time of life when I was a teenager also and the friends that I had. And you know what? There's only a couple of them that are still around. Now just think, if I would have built my happiness and my life completely around those people, them being sand, I'm not saying that they're bad people, they're really good people. But if I were to build my life around my friendships and the people that are in my life, my happiness is dependent on other people, I would have been sorely disappointed. Because what would happen is when they left my life, that would have been part of my foundation. It's not very easy to keep a structure up when you start removing parts of its foundation. It starts to erode, it starts to fall over. That's the same thing. I hear so many times when people come up to me and they're like, oh, I'm so unhappy because my friends did this, my friends did this. And it's all right for you to experience emotion in those situations, but are you building your foundation on your friends? I'm not saying that you need to exclude people from your life because you need people in your life. It's the flavor of life. Your friends that you have are very, very important. But don't base your happiness, don't base the rest of your life on them. You know what? Another thing, I was very blessed when I was younger. I had an excellent family that was able to sow into my life and speak into my life and raise me up to be the man that I am today. But it would have been also foolish of me for me to build my foundation on that. Because you know what? You know what family members are? Human. Human. And you know what? I can still look back. I have an excellent example of what a family should be. I was very incredibly blessed in that situation. But I know that that is not where my happiness is founded. Because they're still human. They can still let me down. Same example with me, guys. You know what? I've heard so many examples of where people will talk about, it's like, oh, I just rely so much on my pastor. I rely so much on this person because they're just a really good friend of mine. You know, even me being a pastor, I'm still human. Look at this. Human appendage. You can see my belly button? I'll show you my belly button.
No, we don't.
Okay. No. You know, I hate to say it because I would love to be this for you guys. I would love to be that strong place for you guys that you can build your foundations around. But I am not that person because I am human. Sooner or later, I will fail at something. And so you cannot build your foundations on that. And so now that I've listed all these things of, oh man, I'm just bumming you out. Because I've listed out all these things that are close to you, dear to you in your life, and you're thinking, okay, what am I supposed to build my foundations on? I gave you an example. Things that are solid, things that don't change. And like I said, there's only a couple things that I have found, and one of the biggest things that I've ever found in life that is unchangeable is the love of God. And it might sound cheesy to some of you guys, but that is the absolute truth. Because every single time that my friends let me down, if I ever built my foundation around them, if I started building something around my friends, and they let me down, stabbed me in the back, and it happened many times, every single time I can come back to the same thing of, you know what, I don't care how they treat me and what they think of me, because I know that God still loves me. And because of that, I was able to find who I was to who He knew I was. Again, I'm going into the self-esteem thing, guys. So I need a couple of volunteers. Okay, Hope, I need you to go right over here. I need one more volunteer. I need some Gage. Come up here, buddy. Give him a big hand. Now, to make this a little fair, you're going to use this surface right here, okay? And I am actually going to adjust this so that you can use this surface right here. You guys nervous yet? It's like I'm setting up the altar. Okay, we're going to pretend you're Isaac. Okay, there's a table here. All right, these are yours. Okay? These are yours. See, right here, some great building materials for you. Are you jealous? I'm giving you the cards because I think you have better skills. Thank you. Those are toddler blocks. Those are big boy blocks right there. Okay, so we got a deck of cards right here. Oh, it's not his fault, it's because they got plastic things in here. How do they expect toddlers, I mean big kids, to get into these things? There we go. There we go, Gage. There we go. You ready for block time? Okay, so we're going to start off with some starter blocks here. I know, there goes half of it. And what I want you guys to do is I want you to start building up a structure, okay? You need a house of cards. Toss it up here. All right, excellent. So you guys get to work on that. And as I was talking about some of these things, you know, there are some things in our lives that are just a little bit more temporary. Does anybody have any examples of things in our lives that are kind of temporary? That come in, like I had the examples of friends. Anybody else has some examples of things that come in and kind of work off? Yes? Clothes. Very temporary. I hope that you always replace those with other clothes. Any other example? Yes? What's that?
Foster homes?
Foster homes? Okay. Thank you. Projection right there. It should be on Broadway. Anybody else? Oh, absolutely. If you want to play on the floor there, go for it. You should. But, you know, there are some things that enter into our lives, like friends and stuff. But, you know what? This is the importance of foundation and why we need to have it on a solid foundation.